Hello, listeners, and welcome to a brand new episode of Never Seen It. I'm your host today. My name is Betsy, and with me is Trent.
Hello, fellow podcasting listeners.
Those are people who listen to podcasts like we do.
We do.
It's such a generic description to give our listeners, but you know what? I'm glad they listen to podcasts, in particular, this podcast.
Yeah.
Because right now, we are in the throes of Oscar season, and it is our penultimate episode of the Best Picture nominees. And we have been waiting for weeks and weeks and weeks for these last two movies to be available because we live in South Dakota, where sometimes you just have to wait an obscenely long time for movies to arrive.
We do have like a local art house theater that these movies sometimes come to, but these last two movies, Nickel Boys and I'm Still Here, are the ones that just, they haven't been able to get them. They've been trying to get them.
And they are getting them,
yeah.
but not in the time frame we need for both episodes to come out in an orderly fashion.
The distribution of these movies are sometimes a challenge, but that's not what we're talking about, Betsy. We're covering Nickel Boys.
Because at long last, it is available to rent, so we are able to watch this movie from our own home. We would love to go see it in the theater. However, that option is a little bit too late this cycle.
Yeah,
so
scheduling is a nightmare for us.
We're watching it at home. It is what it is, but we are excited that we're finally able to do this. So all that to say, Trent, Nickel Boys, new movie to both of us.
Yeah.
What do you know about this Best Picture nominee?
I know it is based on a book. It is about it's a coming-of-age tale starting in the 1960s that surrounds a couple of friends who just happen to be a couple of African-American boys going through the throes of civil rights and everything that goes along with that in the 1960s in the U.S.
And I believe it's based on a real story. I'm pretty sure that the story inspired the book, inspired the movie.
I did not know that. I did not know that there's any truth to this.
I think. I'm not 100%, but I believe that is what I heard.
All right. I also know that there's a wrinkle to this in that the perspective of like the thing that you're looking at here is a first person perspective from either one of the characters or both of the characters, or maybe it swaps between them. I'm not sure, but I know that the first person perspective is a pivotal thing of this movie.
It is the thing. I don't really know a whole lot about what this movie is, but I remember we saw a trailer for this quite a few months ago. I don't know what movie we were watching, but it's just like, oh, we are this character. It's very unique. And of all the Best Picture nominees, I can guarantee it's the only time we're doing that this cycle, where we are in the eyes of the main character. And judging from the fact that it is nominated for Best Picture, my assumption is it's successful. There have been other movies that have tried first person. Cough, cough, the early 2000s version of the movie Doom, based on the video game.
That was a gimmick because it was the first person shooter stuff.
Yes, but it's hard to argue that this is not in some ways a gimmick, not having seen the movie.
Yeah.
It is the thing I know about the movie.
Who was that director that did an entire like first person thing that was like a parkour thing, like shot with an iPhone?
Oh shit, I forgot about that.
Yeah, that was another kind of gimmicky movie that just kind of went nowhere. Somebody
I know saw it, and I think they enjoyed it for what it was. But
I feel like a movie like that would just make me sick.
I'm not into that sort of thing. But again, this is a very different kind of movie, very different pacing. We're talking Best Picture caliber type movie about what I assume is going to be a very serious subject matter. So Trent, do you know anything else about this movie before we finally go and watch Nickel Boys?
Not really. I know I've been intrigued by this movie ever since we saw a trailer a long, long time ago. They put out a new one after it got nominated for an Oscar. And, you know, other than screenplay and Best Picture, there's no other nominations as far as like acting or production or anything like that. So I'm hoping this is very much a sum of its parts kind of a movie, and that the uniqueness is going to carry it all the way through.
Well, let's go find out. We are going to watch the penultimate Best Picture nominee this year, Nickel Boys, and we will be right back. And we're back. That was Nickel Boys. Trent, how do you feel after this one?
So I know it's kind of a cliche to use words like this, especially when you're talking about Oscar nominated movies for whatever kind of awards they are. This movie was captivating in a way that it's hard for me to start describing, but I think that's what this conversation is going to be about. I don't think I've ever seen a movie like this. I don't know if I've had the feelings that I've had watching a movie like this. This is such a unique thing and such a unique way to tell a story in its visual presentation, in its perspective, in its just the way it tells the story is so great.
It also hits like a ton of bricks.
It
Like,
does, yeah.
When everything is revealed at the end of the movie, I'm just like, whoa, okay, that's what we've been watching for the last 2+ hours. And as I said in the intro, this is basically a movie I knew nothing about.
Yeah, same.
I knew it was based on a book. I don't know what the book is. I don't know anything about the book. I also didn't know it was based on it is based on real history. It's not a real place. There wasn't a Nickel Academy, but there was a place that they basically used as the inspiration for this story.
Yeah, a lot of the stories that were kind of thrown in here are based on real accounts from a real place, but this is a fictionalized historical thing.
This is characters made up by the author
Yeah.
to tell this story.
It's basically as if I'm going to tell this story of these two boys, these two fictional boys who would have gone to a place like this and what their lives would have been.
And setting it in the 1960s, because this place was open in the early 1900s and didn't close until like 2011.
Yeah, the real place that this is based on, the Dozier Academy.
So you could have set this story in so many different time frames.
Yeah.
But setting it in Florida, in the segregated South in the 1960s, and have it be from the perspective of a black boy,
A young intelligent black boy, yes.
who just basically finds himself in the wrong place at the wrong time and ends up in this academy. That is such a powerful way, a powerful perspective to tell the story on its own. Just that. And then you do it from this first person perspective where you are, as the viewer, confronting everything that he is.
Mm-hmm.
And they're kind of genius in the way that they periodically shift perspectives. And the first time it happens, like your brain goes, oh, wait, what's happening? Oh, it's the other kid now. We're seeing the same scene from the other side.
Yeah. And now that you've gone through the entirety of the movie, knowing what the ending is, it makes the shift in perspective so much more powerful because literally Turner was seeing the world through Elwood's eyes.
And the way that they started the beginning very like intentional, like, okay, we are in Elwood's point of view. Now we're going to shift to Turner's. And for the first few times they do it, you're following along, but then they do it faster and more frequently to the point where you lose track. You honestly, at points of this movie, I didn't know whose perspective we were from.
And that's by design, but I think the ones that you're talking about here are the ones where it feels like it's a regular movie cutting between different camera shots. But no, you have to remind yourself on occasion, on a lot of occasions, no, you're in the perspective of one of these kids at all times. There's no point here except the very, very few moments when we're in the future where you don't actually get to see the face of the person that you're really looking at.
And you don't really understand why we're always behind this person. We're not seeing it through their eyes. We're seeing the back of their head. And it's that weird steady cam shot where it's like strapped to them. But I've never seen it in a movie where it's behind them. It's always, in front of them or facing them. And we see them looking at the camera. For the actor to not even be showing their face, but you're following their movement and stuff is pretty unique, where it's actually physically attached to them, the camera. But there is one other moment where it is purely from an outside perspective, and it's when we find out what is happening in that white building on the back of the property where these kids are being beaten. And when it happens to Elwood the very first time, it's like he's metaphorically separating himself from the
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah, you're
That
right.
is the
Yeah.
only time that the camera does something really unique.
Yeah, the camera kind of stays in the doorway and Elwood comes into frame as he's about to be, like you said, whipped. And yeah, he's kind of having an out-of-body experience. Like, really, is this happening to me? To me? What the hell did I do?
And we are not experiencing what is happening to him as he is.
Yeah.
We don't even see it. They cut away from that. We just see the aftermath of it. But yeah, it's such an intentional, intelligent choice to do the movie this way and how they just jump back and forth. It's like you said, it's captivating. You cannot stop trying to figure out, okay, who am I looking at now? Who am I embodying in this part of the movie? What am
Yeah.
I experiencing? And why is it important that this moment it's Elwood, in this moment it's Turner? Why is that important in this
Yeah,
moment?
and at different moments in the movie, we're going back and forth a lot quicker, where we mention, okay, it's like it's the camera cuts, but there's a lot more frantic things happening later on in the movie because they get a little bit more desperate. Like Elwood at one point, he thought, okay, there's my grandma at home. She's got this lawyer who they've been talking to. But it turns out that the lawyer was just some scam artist taking hundreds of dollars away from them.
From a
and
little
they got,
old lady.
And they got nothing. They
Yeah.
got nothing for it. And it just breaks your heart because the Nana, he calls her, is just there saying, I disappointed you. I didn't do right by you.
I let you down.
I let you down. And like you said, it just breaks your heart because not only is she feeling terrible, but Elwood is still stuck here. He's got nothing.
And it's that thing kind of like in other movies similar to this, like the one that comes to mind is Shawshank Redemption.
I got so much Shawshank stuff.
Andy Dufresne has hope. In this
Yeah.
movie, Elwood has hope. No, my grandma said, I believe grandma. She's got a lawyer. We've got it figured out. We're going to get me out of here. I'm not going to be here for that long.
Because everybody agrees that the thing that I was accused of doing, I didn't do. Clearly, there's no evidence here. You cannot keep me here for fucking ever.
But because it's the segregated South in the 1960s, they throw the book at him. And he goes to a juvenile reformation center, in
Yeah.
the equivalent of prison for a teenager.
Yeah.
But the really bizarre thing about this facility is the fact they have small kids here. Like you and I
Yeah.
kept remarking on, they've got like 8-year-old boys at this facility. Younger than that. And this is for, the troublemakers who can't go to prison because they're not old enough. These are juvies. This is a juvie, basically. But what in the world could a 7 or 8-year-old boy have done to get himself put in here? And he could be there his entire life till he turns 18.
Yeah, and I think this is really a consequence of it's not only the state of Florida having their corrections department and their child care, child safety, whatever the equivalent is.
Or lack thereof.
Yeah, it's those two departments not really jiving together. So, okay, the equivalent of like a child protective service takes a kid away from a situation where there are no parents or they get them off the street. You can't put them in jail. We have no other real facilities to put them in or foster home or
we
anything.
don't care enough to put you anywhere.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe those departments just were not a thing in Florida at the time.
Or if they were, they weren't for everybody.
Or they just were not fully funded enough to really make a difference. But
Yeah.
again, I'm speculating here. But yeah, you're right. All of these different ages of kids at this place where I just don't understand, like, what is the point of having the kids there? Like, where are the little kids? Because they're not in the regular ass barracks where all these other boys are.
But they're there. So
Clearly they're there.
And they have to get out there and do the work, and they get in trouble, and they get beatings, and they get assaulted.
Yeah. This whole place is just, it's just like another prison or jail where you have some kind of like trustees where you're trusted to go off and do some extra privileged things if you're well behaved. But if you're not, you get to stay behind and pick fruit all day.
Oh, yeah. And they have like that introduction. Every time there's a new batch of kids, hello, everyone. I'm the warden. These are the rules. And you are a grub. The number 4, there's 4
Yeah.
steps. You are a grub. And if you are well behaved and you don't swear and you follow the rules and you do what you're told and you say, yes, sir, eventually you move up to the top of the ranks, which is ace. And when you're an ace, you get to graduate and you get out of here and go home to your family, quote unquote.
Yeah.
But the problem is, like any prison system, the system is designed to fail you and keep you here.
Yeah, like every other kind of prison, or as in some cases, private prisons, if you get rid of your prisoners, you lose funding. The only way you make money is if all of those cots are filled.
And of course, they display that here too, where all these kids get 2 minutes in an icy cold shower with 1 bar of soap.
Group shower.
A group
for
shower.
Fuck's sake.
But then later in the movie, when the inspectors come through, everybody gets a clean shirt and their own bar of soap.
Yeah, clean
and
white
we're gonna give
shirt.
you ice cream, and
Yeah.
you're all so happy.
You get well fed, you get ice cream, everybody's cheering because, hey, it is the one time of the year where the inspectors show up and you cannot say a goddamn word to these guys.
No, we need you to be well behaved, and we're gonna pretend we treat you well this one day of the year. And it's clear that they are cutting every corner to make it as miserable as possible for these kids. Like, they will not spend 1 penny more than they have to on these boys, to the degree that there's actually a guy on staff who's like selling the excess. They have extra food. They have extra supplies that they could and should be giving to the kids who live here. But instead, it's going to waste, so they're selling it and pocketing the profits because they can.
It's another Shawshank thing, where it's the warden and all of the staff who are trying to make whatever extra money that they can because they can. Who's going to stop them?
You're a bunch of kids. You're not going to say anything. How would this possibly
Yeah, you're
go
all
down?
a bunch of poor, unfortunate, dumbass kids who wouldn't know what to do if somebody came up to them and asked, so how's it going at this place?
And that's another thing, is the inspectors are not shown interacting with the kids. The only one that they're shown interacting with is the kid who is half Mexican.
Yeah.
It's like he's the representative for that side of the barracks.
Or it could be both sides.
Maybe, because clearly the inspectors were white. Like, that's
Of course.
obvious. And if they were really good at doing their jobs, they would interview people and ask questions. And yes, all the boys would be programmed to say, I love it here. It's so
Right.
good.
But really, this place, I mean, in reality, had been open since the year 1900. So even though there are inspectors there, doesn't mean they're going to do a goddamn thing, even if they see something.
The funny thing that happens when you tell people there's going to be an inspection is everything is in tip-top shape. The way inspections should work is you show up and you
Yes.
inspect things.
Yes, that's how inspection should work.
But in this scenario, it's like, no, we have to schedule it, and you know the exact time and the day, and you have time to prepare and hide everything that needs to be hidden.
Sure, at the very least, you're going to put a tarp over it to make sure that the inspectors don't, walk by something and accidentally see something wrong.
Yeah, so the way the story unfolds, where it just seems like this is just a kid living his life. And then he ends up here, and I'm like, what the hell is this place? And the more information we get, the quicker you discover this is a terrible fucking place he is in. And you begin to wonder, how is he ever going to escape these circumstances? Is he just going to grow out of it? Is he going
Yeah.
to better himself, quote unquote?
Well, they talk about it in the movie where Turner says that there's only 4 ways to get out of this place. Half of them involve you dying, and the other half is, hey, you age out, or you're just kicked out because you're not allowed to be there anymore because you're too old and they are not legally allowed to keep you there.
Yep, you're 18, get out. Go
Or whatever
do what you
the
gotta
age, whatever
do.
the age is.
Well, I assume it's 18 because at the beginning of the movie, Elwood says like he's about to turn 17 or about to turn 16. I don't remember, but
He was 17, yeah.
he was I think he was just turning 17. Meaning at the most, assuming 18 is the age.
I have to imagine that is not the case.
Things were also weird in those days. It's like, was it
Yeah.
18? Was it 21? The legal age for different things has changed in the last 50, 60
You're right.
years.
You're right. Like
You used to have
now,
to be older for cigarettes, but younger for drinking. It's like a whole weird thing.
yeah, there's only a few like real milestones these days. The ones that I can think of off the top of my head are 16, you can start driving with a real driver's license. 18, you're considered an adult. You can smoke cigarettes. You can be drafted. You can be in the military. You are automatically treated as an adult when you commit a crime. So many different things than when you turn 18. It's not all that's cracked up to be, guys. And I guess 21 is where you can start drinking. And in some cases, you can also buy drugs.
You can rent a car.
No, that's 25.
I'm sorry, 25.
25. I was getting to there. I was getting to there.
Milestone birthday.
I think I don't remember how old I was, but I was with you the first time I rented my car in Vegas.
We were probably 26 or 27.
Yeah.
I think we got married. You would have been 28 when we got married.
Well, we got married, yeah, but
So a year before that, or a few months before that.
it was a few months.
So
That's
you were
right.
27. We have gone completely
I
off
don't care.
topic here.
Betsy and I went to Vegas. The one and only time, it was a few months prior to when we actually we got married at the courthouse. We eloped, quote unquote, I guess. But we were walking around Vegas to all of these different chapels and just taking photographs in front of them, pointing at the chapel like, is this what we're gonna do? Putting it on Facebook and shit.
This is really weird that this is the conversation we're having in Nickel Boys and not a Nora.
Yeah, you're right.
Because we literally had a movie where we could have talked about this.
You're not wrong.
So I'm gonna bring you back, Trent. I'm gonna bring you back.
Hey, we gotta have some kind of levity in Nickel Boys.
This is true. So you touched on it. There are 4 ways that you can get out of this place. There is a 5th way. However, I'm going to take a quick break and we'll talk about that when we come back.
Critics everywhere are raving about patreon.com/neverseenitpod. Superfan Stephanie says, all this for $5 a month? Incredible. Phineas Butterfield of the New England Journal of Medicine calls it available content. Betsy's grandma says, what's a podcast? Don't miss your chance to experience this phenomenon. Join today.
So Elwood determines that the 5th way you can get out of nickel is to make nickel not a thing anymore. Basically, it can't exist. How do you do
Yeah,
that?
take it down from the inside.
And so he has been taking the time. He's got a notebook and he is writing down who and what and where and when. He is writing a very detailed account of all the abuses and the shit that goes down in this place.
Yeah, all of the people involved, all the names, all the dates, all of the incidents that he is witnessing or experiencing. He is making basically evidence of every time this has happened. And again, you think back to Shawshank, where he sends the information to, I guess, a reporter, and it comes out in the paper saying, "Hey, here's all this corruption in Shawshank," and here comes the cops.
But the difference in this movie is he tells Turner what he's been up to. And Turner obviously does not want him to divulge this information.
Yeah, he doesn't want him to upset the apple cart.
It also would mean very, very bad consequences if he's not successful. Because they've already said there's a fucking unmarked grave. And they just tell these families, oh, your son or your relative, they ran away and they're never seen again.
Sure.
Because the staff is literally murdering people on this campus. So he knows there are serious stakes involved if this goes badly. And we see Elwood trying to approach the inspectors and he gets stopped by one of the staff. And then Turner says, I will take it. I will take it and I'll drop it in the car.
Yeah.
We never actually see him do it.
And that was really what I was mostly confused about in this movie as to, okay, why is Elwood in the hot box near the end of the movie here? Presumably it is because Elwood either got it to them, they found out about it and came to him after the fact, or something else. I really cannot understand what happened here, what caused him to be there.
because either the inspectors got it, like Turner did what he said, even
Right.
though in this moment I was a little suspect that he actually was going to go through with it.
But he gave it to Turner, though.
But that's what I'm saying. Turner didn't go through with it. We don't see Turner drop it. We see him in the car and he says, it's now or never. Cut to, he's in the bunk and he's being told that they've got Elwood and they're going to take care of him tonight.
Which we also don't even hear the staff say anything about that. It is just, hey, we heard that's what's going to happen to Elwood tomorrow.
And when they're escaping, when they're going past like the staff room, you can overhear them saying something about no big city inspector or something's going to tell me what to do.
Yes, so nobody from Tallahassee is going to tell me what to do.
So they're not really direct about it, but my assumption is that he did put the book in. The guys saw it, the inspector saw it, confronted them, and of course, because Elwood is writing from his perspective, they obviously know who wrote this document. They can't do anything. The inspectors can't do anything on the spot. There's like two guys, so they probably give him notice, and that's still enough time for them to do something in the interim. But this is all interpretation because we don't see any of that happen.
No, all of this is speculation here.
All of a sudden, we just know that we are in the perspective of somebody. And I didn't know if it was Elwood or Turner. We're in this room. We don't see who we are in the body of, in the perspective of. And they say they got him. They're going to take care of him tonight. They don't use any names. Where is he? He's in the hot box. And it's not until there's like a vision of Elwood's grandma that you know Elwood is the one in the hot box and Turner is the one breaking him out.
Yeah.
And obviously this is important because of what happens at the very end of the movie. I think we're supposed to feel that way. We're supposed to be like, oh, we're in Elwood's perspective, even though we're not.
Right. You expect that Turner would have been the one to get caught and punished because he said he was going to go and do it.
And we don't see him do it. We just see him say it's now or never.
Yeah.
Cut to.
So speaking of cutting to, I want to talk about now the time jumps and all of the weird interstitials that they're presenting in this movie, because it's not just the story of these two boys. It is the story of the 1960s. It is the story about the political situation, the protest situation, and even the technological situation where we're getting all of this really cool stuff about NASA and the Apollo programs and all of the shit that we were finding out and discovering about the moon and everything else like that. I found that portion of it fascinating because me being here in 2025, I can pull up my phone and I can see all of the high resolution images of the moon and all the other planets of the world. And it's just another fucking Tuesday.
You're frankly unimpressed.
Yeah.
It's not fascinating to you because it's been around for 60 years.
Exactly. It's so easy to just find this information out. It's no longer interesting. But if you were a kid in this time, and if Elwood was a real person and he could see these images himself, he's an intelligent kid. He should be fascinated with this stuff. Even the dumb kids were too. But my point to this is, imagine yourself in the 1960s when you are a teenager and all of this stuff keeps on coming out. You would be fascinated. Like the entire fucking world was fascinated with the space race.
And it again adds a wrinkle because he is contained to this place. He can't leave. But his grandma is like sending him the flyer of like, oh, the rocket, the space missions.
Yeah.
Like it's this whole pamphlet.
Missing out.
He's missing
totally
out.
missing out on one of the most interesting times in our country's history.
But it's that thing of he still wants to be a part of it. He wants to be out in that world. He needs it. He's got that little grain of, I can't let this go. I'm not going to let this place break me.
Am I wrong in remembering this? There's an interaction in the bunks where Turner is looking at Elwood and says, you're not really living here. You're living out there. You're not living your life as it is right now. Do you remember that moment?
I don't remember that moment, but it feels like the mood of this movie, so it probably did happen.
I think Turner here is the cynical one where, man, that outside world that doesn't even exist. This is your world right now. Do not try. He's the Red. He's the Morgan Freeman of these two, where, man, hope, that is a dangerous thing. You cannot get your hopes up because it'll eat you alive in here.
I mean, there was that moment when they first meet where he says, "You eat that oatmeal like you love it."
Yeah.
Like, I've never seen anybody eat this garbage food the way you are eating that. Because he stands out. It's unusual. Why do you take any joy in anything? Because this place is a fucking prison.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not a metaphorical one, a literal prison.
But anyway, going back to what I was saying about the quick cuts back and forth, the way they're telling this story is not necessarily flashback because there's no narrator, there's nobody addressing it from the future at all.
Explaining what it is we're looking at and why.
No, none of it is explained whatsoever. But we get these cuts to the 1970s, the 1980s, and presumably the
20
late
teens.
late 90s, early 2000s, I think, where it is assumed that we're looking at Elwood, because up to this point, Elwood has been the main character of this story.
And people are calling him Elwood.
And people are calling me Elwood, exactly.
The name on the business card says Elwood.
You're right, exactly. That is what the viewer is meant to think. It's what everybody's meant to think. But yeah, we get these little moments of his life after he gets out. In the 1970s, he's got this girlfriend. He's got this apartment in New York. He is starting up this moving business. Everything seems to be going really, really great. Like, he's got a line on a truck that he's going to buy, an Econoline. I know that name. And it seems like he's doing okay. Then we cut to the 1980s, and this is all out of sequence. But in the 1980s, he's at a bar, and he's single. And one of the kids that he meets at the place,
one of the Nickel boys.
one of the boys there, he meets him at this bar, just out of the blue. "Hey, man, I know you. And here's my," what was his name? Like, Shaky Pete?
Shaky Pete.
Shaky Pete. And he's still shaky to this day. And I imagine that is all related. He is very fidgety. He talks about the fact that, "Yeah, man, for the last 30 days, I've been drying out," as if to say he's an alcoholic and he's been trying to kick the habit.
But also, he knows he can't, because
Yeah.
this scene I thought was the best one in the entire movie to really illustrate the damage of this place that they all were.
Yeah.
He says, "Do you ever run into any of the other guys? Oh, yeah, this guy went to Vietnam and got his leg blown off, and that guy is on drugs, and this dude died." And they all have this collective, really intense trauma, and they're really messed up people because of it. Like,
Yeah.
they're having the conversation, and he asks, "Do you have a girl?" And he says, well, Elwood says, "I did, but she told me I really needed to work on myself." It's like,
Yeah.
you think? But they have this brothers in arms, war buddies kind of mentality together,
Yeah.
where it's like, you'll find the right person who is able to understand what it is you're trying to describe what you went through.
And what you just said there is what I was going to say, is this group of guys, it's like it's a prisoner of war thing, or like it's a VFW kind of a thing, where it's these guys who have this shared trauma that only they can understand, because if they say it to anybody else, like, who's going to believe them?
And Pete, of course, has also buried some things so deep that he doesn't even really remember what happened. It's been 20 years.
Yeah. But he does remember a lot of the names. He remembers some of the incidents that happened, but he can't necessarily pinpoint what's going on with him. Does he even call him by his name?
He does. He calls him Elwood.
He does
But
call him Elwood?
he's like, whatever happened to that other guy? He couldn't remember the other guy's name. He couldn't remember Turner. He knew it would come
Does
to him
he
eventually.
call himself Elwood?
I don't remember. In the context of that scene, Pete calls him Elwood, though.
Maybe he's just confused because he wouldn't look like the guy.
Listen, it's been 20 years.
Yeah.
He looks close enough to him. He just assumes that's who it is. And
Well,
when
and
he
those
agrees,
two were hanging out all the time, so
Yeah.
maybe they got him mixed up. And
Yeah, that's the whole point of the movie, though, is this kind of symbiotic relationship that happens.
Totally.
The way the film is made, the way that people remember them as a duo, all the different details about that. But of course, here's where Pete's like, yeah, whatever happened, you must have like graduated or something. And he's like, you really don't remember?
Yeah, Elwood says, you really don't remember what happened?
You don't know how this went
Really?
down? So of course we're like, did the inspector get him? Like, what happened? Where did this go? Like, did he graduate? Did he take it down from the inside?
Or was there a tragic thing that happened? Because when you're doing a reaction like that, you expect, really? You don't remember what happened?
Because there's so much trauma that Pete doesn't have room in his brain for all of it.
Yeah.
He says, I remember the floor being slippery because there was raw, fresh flesh on it. People got beat so hard that their skin came off and you were like walking in it.
Oh.
Like that's the stuff he remembers, the really visceral, horrific shit.
Yeah.
People's names, not important after a while.
He also says that he cannot sleep in the dark.
Yeah. He has to have a light on when he sleeps. Like, this place fucked this guy up for life.
Yeah.
He will never be a normal functioning human being, especially in 1988 where they're having this conversation and therapy was still not really widely given out and encouraged for people who go through trauma.
He's also couch surfing with his sister and is asking Elwood for a job because he finds out, oh, you have a moving business. I can help you out. I need money. I need an
work.
income. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I can't do anything else because I'm an alcoholic.
Well, I also can't imagine that he can really hold down a job not only for the alcoholism, but everything else going on with him. But you're right. This scene was very impressive because of how it is framed as well. Because you have this figure in center frame. You are looking off to the side where Pete is. And I've never seen anything like this before in a movie where your focus is having to be at one place, but it's off to the side.
There are so many interesting focus things in this movie. Like the very, very beginning when he's just a little boy, it's sort of when you're a kid, you don't remember the full memory. You just remember a feeling. You remember little details.
Little snippets, totally.
And so it's just him laying in the grass and he remembers the fruit on the tree, or he remembers his mom's bracelet. Like, that's the only scene I assume is his parents.
Sure. And the grandma dropping tinsel on his face and him having a great time with that because it's funny.
And seeing his reflection as grandma's ironing and making
so
the
great.
bed. It's all these just warm memories that he has.
These magical moments. Yeah.
Pieces of his life before this place. And what we as the viewer don't really appreciate is this is also the last time he's happy, because there is a reason for the perspective that we're switching back and forth and this duality with him and Turner till the end of the movie, because they escape. But Elwood doesn't make it. And the moment I realized this, I was just like, oh,
yeah,
okay. Because you see a guy with basically a shotgun, and you assume the guy off in the distance is the one who got shot because he's far away, and the guy up close got captured because he was standing right there. When in fact, it's the other way around.
Yeah.
And the guy who was far away actually got away. But the one who was far away was Turner.
Yeah, Turner got away. We also get the perspective of Elwood when he's laying on the ground dying.
But again, the way they shifted back and forth, I still thought that was Turner for a second.
Yeah.
But then they cut to Turner running through the woods, and I'm confused for just a minute until my brain clicks like, oh my God.
Yeah.
This kid Don Drapered us. He took over his identity.
Yeah.
And he survived. He lives an
Spoilers
entire
for Mad
life.
Men.
Okay, it's in like the first episode. If you've not figured out for the 20-year-old TV show that Don Draper's not his real name.
Hey, go and watch Mad Men. It's a fantastic show.
It is worth your time. Another show in the 1960s.
You're right.
But yeah, that's basically what it is he manages to get away, and he goes to his grandma's house and tells her what really happened.
Yeah.
And then just assumes Elwood's identity and lives the rest of his life as Elwood, which is why throughout all those weird flashbacks, we're behind him, which makes sense when you know the information. But while you're watching it the first run through, you're like, why are we suddenly separated from Elwood? Why are we looking at the back of Daveed Diggs' head? And you literally don't know it's Daveed Diggs until the last 2 seconds of the movie.
Yeah. And there's even moments here where it's presumably in the present day, or at least in the 2000s, let's say, at the very least. He has a there's a shot of a computer mouse and a computer monitor and a website where we're told this is Elwood, this is his business card, this is the name of the business. By the way, the name of the business is Ace Moving Service. Ace is the top level that you can get at the Nickel Academy.
He also wanted it to be easy to find in the phone book.
In the phone book, exactly.
So it'd be near the top if it's called Ace.
Yes, exactly.
It's a dark thing to do, a dark choice to make, but he uses it, he flips it. He makes it into a positive thing for himself.
Yes. But in that present day, quote unquote, he is looking at these websites and doing research. And I believe this is the time when all of this started to come out. I think it would be around the 2012 era. Because this is when they started to exhume all these bodies and find these mass graves.
If we're assuming that we're going on the real timeline of the real case.
Yeah, and he is kind of grappling with, he's got gray hair in this scene, and he's kind of grappling with the question of, hey, do I actually reveal myself here, tell my story, tell my friend's story, and tell the story of everybody that I knew from that place? Because presumably he's maybe one of the only ones left, and he's still got a good head on his shoulders.
And if this has been happening for so long, he's only going to be able to help with the people that would have disappeared at the time he was there, which was not very long.
You're right.
But the fact that more than one person would be unaccounted for in the year he was there. He wasn't even there a year, I don't think. They kind of show him in the summer, summer, fall, going into Christmas, and then probably in the next spring, summer is when he leaves.
I suppose.
But yeah, all of this information, the way they're doling it out ever so slowly, and you're kind of questioning, is this a dream? Is this real? There's that one moment near the end where we're from Turner's perspective, and he's in the cot next to Elwood, and Elwood gets up and gets under the bed, and then a grown man gets up and gets into the bed. And it's just what was that moment? Or Elwood is petting a mule in the hallway in black and white. There's a few moments like that where it's is this a dream? Is this a vision? What are we supposed to take away from those moments that kind of gets me going what is this?
And there are other moments earlier on in the movie that is portending what is going to happen in the future. There's a scene of them running through this straw field when they are escaping. That's a scene from the end of the movie, but it's early on.
And riding the train.
Yes.
Which I was at the time assuming this is because Turner makes a comment about he escaped once and they brought him back here.
They're also talking about, hey, this is how we would do it. We would go south and we would get on a train here.
I've got
blah,
a plan.
blah, blah. This is just my vision of what we would do if we were to try to escape.
And they're very artistically done. So you're oh, is it just, the filmmaker being artistic for the sake of artistic reasons?
Follow me on this. Do you also get the vibes here of, I think it was last year's movie that got nominated for Best Picture, The Zone of Interest, where there's a lot of weird cuts to things that are unrelated to the movie, or at least presumably unrelated to the movie, and just stuff that isn't readily explained?
I don't think it's a wholly unfair comparison. Yeah, I think this one is definitely the most art house of the ones we have watched so far.
So far, yeah.
And probably ultimately just based on the little I've seen of I'm Still Here, the last one we have to watch. From the trailer, it doesn't look like it's going to be anything unusual from the perspective and the way it's presented.
No.
But yes, that being said, there are some shots in this movie where you're just I don't know why that's here. Or I don't know why now, but then at the end of the movie, I go, aha, now I understand why it's there.
Yeah, there isn't anything here that is wasted or completely is way off the beaten path.
And then there's also moments in this movie where you're how did you accomplish that?
There's some incredible shots in this movie.
When it is from the first perspective, that is literally just a camera. That woman, when she is hugging her grandson, is hugging a cameraman.
Of course.
But not the cameraman, the camera.
The camera.
So those shots make sense. But then there's other ones where, that iconic one where they're looking up, you just assume instead of them looking at a mirror and we have to edit it out. They're just being filmed from above.
Yeah, there's also a couple of moments here where I think it's Elwood in a bus.
Yeah, at the
and
beginning.
and his head is up against the glass, and at certain angles you don't see the reflection. But then the quote unquote camera moves, which is to say his head moves, but then you catch your own reflection, but there's no camera in the reflection. It's just him.
Or the beginning where he's a kid looking in the window of the television store.
Yeah.
And you can see him standing there. And then there's just a wall of televisions, but there's no camera. So it's like, okay, you're either doing some crazy double exposure thing, or you have just figured out a really brilliant way with very minor computer touch-ups to make this look like this. Because I will just say, the fact this isn't nominated for Best Director is a little appalling, I feel like.
It's Best Director, and I would say cinematography too, because there's some beautiful, beautiful shots here, and just the way everything is presented here is what makes this movie unique.
Yeah, there's some things that got nominated this year, and I'm like, really? We're picking that over this movie?
We're not going to get into that.
We're not getting
again.
into that. That'll be a conversation for when we do the the awards special, the Oscar special in a couple of weeks. But yeah, I think the way it looks is kind of perfect to tell this story. Like, I was a little wary because in the trailer, it didn't really seem like something I would be into. But once I'm watching it and I kind of get absorbed into it, you can't look away.
It keeps you engaged at the very least, because you have to keep reminding yourself, no, this is not just a camera looking at a scene like it's a normal movie. No, you're in the perspective of one of these boys. And the last thing I really wanted to say here is about the way it's shot and everything else like that. It is the visual storytelling of not only these two kids, but what is happening in the world. The one scene that you just mentioned where he's looking into the TV shop, where the grandma and somebody else inside are talking about stuff that is happening over in Selma.
It's the very early days of the civil rights movement.
Yeah, it's all of this stuff. It is ever present. It is Elwood hearing things on the radio, and he's in class, and the teacher is telling him about stuff and giving him fucking records of MLK.
It's the same thing where he has like these selective pieces of memories. Like, I don't remember the whole picture. I just remember that teacher playing this record, and I remember that kid, you know, we were sitting in class and some pencils fell, and then I looked up and there were pencils in the ceiling.
Yeah.
Like these tiny little details that somebody would remember from their childhood.
There's even a scene here. I mean, it's not a storytelling thing, but it's when you're looking up, when they say that Elwood is in the hot box and he looks up to the ceiling that's all fucking fucked up, and it turns into a star field. That right there was one of the best visual things in the entire movie.
Trent, there's an Oscar Wilde quote. It's something to the effect of, "Some of us are in the gutter, but even those in the gutter are looking up at the stars."
Yeah.
It's kind of that
I
mentality.
mean, think about the movie we just watched last week, The Brutalist. That's another thing. It's about being confined and being able to look up at the stars.
Yeah, that's a weird parallel that we've got those two movies back to back. I have a sense now that we've watched these two, and there's this real through line of sadness, that we've got three really emotionally draining movies back to back. Because based on what I know about I'm Still Here, I don't think we're done on this emotional journey.
I think you're right.
But we are here to talk about Oscars, and we've pretty much touched on the breadth of it. This movie is up for Best Picture and Best Adapted Screenplay. And that is it.
That's it.
I think there was definitely some surprise that this movie actually accomplished a Best Picture nomination.
It was the surprise.
Yeah, it was like, oh, we got this short list. Here's the ones we think, and then there's a second tier, and then there's a third tier. And it felt like this one was like in the third tier.
But here's the deal. Nickel Boys was on pretty much every list that I was looking at prior to when the nominations came out. It was just one of these ones on that list. It didn't come out of nowhere.
No, it's like we knew this movie existed. Everybody who has seen it has really enjoyed it. But when it's really limited release, it's hard to get. Like, we're 2 weeks from the Oscars and it's finally available and not in our local theater. Our local
No.
theater is still not showing this movie.
Not till next week.
Not till next week. And it's only one theater that specializes in this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
They're showing all of the Oscar movies, frankly, and a bunch of other like old stuff. And, you know, they're doing the short specials, the Oscar shorts, concert thing. That's the kind of thing they focus on. So I knew they would come through for us in a pinch. Worst case scenario, we were going to go and see this movie there because we knew they would have it. But the fact that there's one theater in this town where there are 4 movie theaters, and we have more theaters an hour to the north, an hour to the south, 2 hours to the south. We are not that remote. We have lots of movie theaters in this area, and nobody is playing this. And it's the kind of thing where I get it on the surface. It doesn't seem like it's going to have mass appeal. But I feel like even people who don't think they like, quote, this kind of movie would be fascinated to watch this.
Out of all of these that we're covering this year, and even some other ones that we've covered in the past, this one I think is one of the most deserving to have a wider theater release because of the unique nature. It's an American story as well. It's not like I'm Still Here. It's not like The Zone of Interest. It's not like a lot of these other foreign language movies that Americans don't really
International
go.
experience.
Americans do not like to have to read subtitles. We've covered this.
No, but this is history that we know.
Absolutely. And it is based on real fucking events. And I understand that people don't want to fucking lecture. They don't want to have to learn about some ugly things in our past, but it's an important story. And the way that it is just presented to the audience is so goddamn unique.
It's not a lecture. I touched on
not.
it. There's a movie that we watched this year that looks straight in the camera and lectures me. And I don't like that. I did not like that experience. This one, I'm literally in the perspective while simultaneously having someone look right back at me, experiencing it at the same time as them.
And one thing that you cannot say is that any of the people looking at the quote unquote camera, none of them are talking to me. They're talking to that other character.
But by proxy, you're hearing it.
Yes,
You're experiencing it as well.
I'm experiencing it. I'm not being talked to.
Which is why I said it hits you kind of like a ton of bricks when when you get to the crux of the movie, when you figure out what's really going on here and what the point of this all is. Yeah, wow. But with that in mind, Trent, do you have anything else from this movie that you really want to talk about before we wrap this one up?
Just the fact that I really enjoyed the progression of the Elwood character, because at the beginning, he is this meek little kid who would never raise his voice to anybody, but throughout the course of the movie, you see him defending a kid who's getting beat the fuck up, and eventually he is like being one of the guys, and he's being accepted, and he starts to raise his voice and swear and just be another guy, and he's not shy anymore. I really appreciated that arc of his character where he comes out of a shell.
Which is why you don't find it so weird when he's an adult acting very differently, because you're like, oh, he's grown up now.
Sure.
Not realizing there's more to that story.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm disappointed it took this long for us to watch it, but I'm so glad that we had a reason to actually make it a priority to see this, because this is not one, obviously, that is readily available to just put on. And because of that, if this was not nominated for Best Picture, I guarantee we wouldn't be seeing this movie.
No.
Because I don't know when this would be available to us in any capacity.
It'd be another one of those kind of art house movies that just come and go, and you know they exist in the ether, but only the fucking film nerds know about it, and we're not those people.
Not enough, anyway.
We're trying.
We try.
That's the whole reason why we're doing this podcast, is to get, well, mainly me, but to get the two of us a wider breadth of knowledge when it comes to film.
So that being said, that's going to do it for Nickel Boys. If you are a film nerd and you saw this one ages ago and enjoyed this episode, we would love to hear your thoughts about this movie. Send us an email, neverseenapod@gmail.com. You could also message us on any of our social media platforms if you want to send us a message on there instead of an email, because I know email is for old people.
Old people and work. When do you send a regular ass email that is not for work It's for a podcast, of course.
And luckily for us, one of our resident emailers is such an old people. I think she would agree with us. It's from our superfan Stephanie about another one of the Best Picture nominees, Honora. She begins, I liked this movie and I like Honora. Honora is a great character. I think she is charmed by Vanya. He is stupid and immature, but he is fun and goofy. I think for him, everything is disposable. Money, clothes, and unfortunately people. He's never had consequences in real-world experiences. I think that frivolity is appealing to people that have struggled financially, which I think Annie has. Igor and Garnick are so great. Garnick is hilarious, but he definitely has a concussion. Igor is the only one that really sees the whole picture. He sees that Vanya is a fuck-up, but also that Honora is a real human that needs to be treated kindly. And he likes what a firecracker she is.
Yeah.
Igor is an excellent observer, and I love that. And he loves his grandma. The end was so sad. I think Igor could really be a good friend, and maybe someday more. But she's so traumatized by the events of the last 48 hours that she can't let him get too close.
Yeah, I think that moment has to live in and of itself because it would be too much of a reminder of that whirlwind event of her life that she had to experience. Yeah.
And she finishes, as far as Oscars go, Mikey Madison was great. Yuri Borisov was really good. I don't know if it should win Best Picture, but I'm glad it was nominated. The screenplay was also great. Love you guys, from Superfan Stephanie.
Thank you, Stephanie. Betsy, I don't know. We're gonna get to this in a couple weeks, but I think Honora might be gaining some momentum.
Because other things have happened in the last 2 weeks since the nominations came out. There's some other movies that people were like, yeah, that's a sure thing. That's the front runner. Maybe not. Now, all of a sudden, in the last week, Honora has picked up many, many, many awards. And it is just turning into a really unpredictable season. We have one more movie to go.
Yeah.
I'm going to see what the hell I end up doing on my ballot because
Oh, God.
usually at this point, I know what I'm going to do. I don't know what I'm going to do.
Yeah, every year, at least for the past, 3 years now, we're invited to an Oscar party at this theater. We keep on talking about this art house theater that is showing all these movies. They put ABC on the projector, and we just get to sit in the theater and just have a good time with other movie lovers. So that's our Oscar party, but they do a ballot every single year, and they tabulate the results. And Betsy has gotten at least third place, like second or third place, like every year.
I was so close to coming in first last year.
Yeah, you won off.
I like a lot of people, picked Lily Gladstone to win Best Actress.
Yeah, and the person who got first
and
picked Emma Stone.
was the winner. And
Yeah.
of course, that was the difference on our ballots. If that hadn't happened, I probably would have won.
You would have won you would have at least tied.
Yeah,
And
but
I got third that year.
But I'm not feeling great about my chances at this moment. There are
this is a crapshoot.
so many things that we just don't know at this point.
But we'll talk more about that in a couple weeks for our special.
That is right. But until then, we would love you to send us your thoughts. Again, neverseenapod@gmail.com. You can follow us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Blue Sky, all of those places. If you want to reach out to us, you can message us there as well. If you're feeling friendly, you could go and write us a review and rate us 5 stars. It really helps us get in front of more people.
Do that on iTunes and or Spotify.
And of course, if you're interested in hearing more of our thoughts on movies galore, you can go to patreon.com/neverseeninpod. $5 a month gets you access to at least 5 additional shows plus some additional bonus content. We're constantly coming up with new ideas for that thing. So just sign up, check it out. It's a fun time that we're having. But that is going to do it for Nickel Boys Trend. We have one more Best Picture nominee. And luckily, said art house theater that we keep mentioning, that local theater will be showing it. So I know that we'll be able to see it before Oscar Sunday.
Yeah, it's the only place that we're ever going to be able to watch that movie. So yeah.
Barring some very unforeseen circumstances and a plot twist I didn't see coming. Of course, that movie being I'm Still Here. But until then, this has been another episode of Never Seen It. My name is Betsy.
My name is Trent.
And we'll see you next week.